Welcome into another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today, I have my 5 takeaway series covering 5 Dynasty topics. As always, make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Let's go. So, the first topic, and this was, of course, big news today. Terry McLaurin contract extension. He signed a 3-year extension worth up to $96 million. Now, there was a $30 million signing bonus. The up to language is interesting. Could be some incentives there. The deal goes through 2028, where McLaurin will be 33 years old. We still don't have the exact guarantees, but I can't imagine that 2028 is guaranteed in any way, shape, or form. So what this probably is it's a hard commitment through 2026. There's probably some sort of out in 2027. It would cost them some dead cap and some money, but possible. And 2028 is a complete team option. That's probably what the contract is. We'll have to see the exact structure. We don't have it yet. Now, I mentioned on the July 23rd video to hold McLaurin after he started, wanting this new contract. It became a big story. And then to sell when he signed. Now he's signed. So what am I going to recommend doing? Selling McLaurin immediately. Don't delay. Don't wait. Immediately. Why? I'm going to review it a bit here. I've talked about it many times, but McLaurin last year was no better than the rest of his career. 82 catches, 1,096 yards, but this big 13 touchdowns. That's not happening again. On 117 targets, no chance. We're not having 13 touchdowns on 117 targets again. That's not happening. 4.8 catches and 64.5 yards a game. Nothing really different from the rest of his career. His raw target, catch, even yardage numbers, nothing special there. It's the touchdowns that stand out. He didn't even earn more targets last year. I hear people saying that. It's not true. McLaurin's 117 targets from last year is lowest mark since 2019. Now, some might say, well, the Commanders were winning a lot of games. What about the target share? Wasn't so good. 23.3%. 34th among wide receivers. How about the plays he was out there? Maybe it was better when he was out there. No, it was actually worse. 22.7% target rate, 44th among wide receivers. This is not an alpha. Never has been, and last year most certainly wasn't. Now there's more target competition. It's not going to be better. So Terry McLaurin is a huge sell. He's been a big sell all offseason. I've been saying it all offseason. Now is the time to take action. And I might cover McLaurin again on a Dynasty sell video in a little bit more detail with some trade options in the future. But he is a strong sell. Now, my other takeaways are going to cover preseason week 3 and just the preseason in general. And we did see the Bears receiving weapons took shape. Now, I'm picking the Bears because they're one of the few teams, they played their starters for the entire first half in preseason week 3. So we got a full dress rehearsal of what this offense is going to look like. Odunze and DJ Moore, they played essentially every snap. Odunze played 28 of 28. Moore played 27. So they played every snap with Caleb Williams. These are the top 2 weapons. This is who the offense is focused on, receiving-wise. Odunze had 5 targets, caught a touchdown. Moore didn't really do anything. But I'm not going to look into preseason production. I'm going to look more into who played when. And it is very clear these are weapons 1 and 2. By a lot. It is not close. Those are the top 2 weapons for the Bears. I will say one thing. Redraft ranks imply that DJ Moore is the clear wide receiver 1 here. I disagree. I think it's a toss-up, basically, for this year between Moore and Odunze. So, for me in Dynasty, Odunze is a way better value. He's way younger. And, I like him better at cost for this year anyway. Now, the other players. Let's go on to the other players. Basically, there was a 3-way rotation. Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet, and Olamide Zaccheaus rotated the other 2 spots, playing essentially 2/3 of snaps each. Now, Loveland and Kmet did have 2 separate roles. Loveland ran a route on more than half his snaps, whereas Kmet didn't on more than half his snaps. He was blocking more than half the time. So Loveland is more of the receiving tight end. Kmet is more of the blocker. It sounds a lot like the Bills, right? With Kincaid and Knox kind of as a model for what this may look like. Zaccheaus was playing the role that will belong to Luther Burden. He served as the wide receiver 3, came on the field in 11 personnel only, And he played some in the slot and some outside. He rotated in and out of the slot. But I feel like this was the dress rehearsal. I think this is what you will see week 1. Now, Luther Burden's not going to remain on the bench all season, obviously. He was a second-round pick. Second-round picks don't sit on the bench all year. So I do think he'll go in. And he's the player I want to keep an eye on early on in 2025. Burden missed a lot of time in the offseason, and I think that slowed his development in the offense. But he's healthy now. He's no longer injured. He's healthy. He's available. I don't expect Zacchaeus to remain the slot wide receiver over Burden forever. Burden was one of the first draft picks from the Ben Johnson regime. I liked him as a prospect. I thought there were some good things there. And if the price dips after a slow start, I'm going to keep an eye on that early in 2025 because I'd definitely consider buying low on Burden. He's a receiver who got good draft capital that I believed in. So I'm not going to totally dismiss him for a week, first 4 games or something along those lines. Now, my next takeaway, and I think this is one of the players who's gotten the most consistent buzz during the preseason, at least a little lower down. Isaac TeSlaa, very strong preseason so far. He has made highlights in every game. He played in all 4 because the Lions had the Hall of Fame game. 146 yards, 10 targets, scored 3 touchdowns. He's really looked good. A lot of people are talking about how TeSlaa has looked good. He's impressed. He has made a case for an earlier role and so on and so forth. He has looked good. He was someone I discussed as a rookie sleeper when he was free because he had good draft capital. He was drafted in the 30, had some college production, and it was a 3rd-round drafted wide receiver who was often available in the mid to late 4th of rookie drafts. At that price, he was a good value. However, things with TeSlaa have changed. I would now consider cashing out on TeSlaa. Why? This is not the type of player we want to hold. He played in this final preseason week when all of the other Lions starters, every other relevant player rested. He was the only one who played. He's pretty blocked by weapons in front of him. There is no universe in which TeSlaa is going to be better than Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jameson Williams this year. That's not going to happen. It would be nice if he could get on the field as a wide receiver 3 at some point. It's not going to happen week 1. The idea of TeSlaa is probably better than the value, right? I've seen people getting a couple of thirds for TeSlaa. You're already making a huge profit. I'd consider taking that profit and moving on because I think the value is going to go back down. Again, the real thing, how is it going to live up to the hype and the excitement? It probably can't, right? It probably can't. There's just no path on the Lions for that to happen. So again, sometimes we want to take the profit on players like this, especially if we don't see the real growth in the future. And I don't see it with Isaac TeSlaa. So I'm happy to move on for the profit now. Now, if you like my YouTube content, you should sign up for the Patreon. I'm offering a 50% discount off your first month at all tiers using code TylerYT50. And I will say, I've had more signups than ever over the last week or so. So I want to thank everyone who signed up. A lot of people have used this discount code. And if you're not signing up, you're missing out on a huge edge from my rankings, the Discord, and direct message fantasy advice, which are all here. And then there's also all my write-ups and Patreon-only videos and the ability to ask in advance questions for the YouTube videos. Tiers begin at just $5 a month, $250 with that 50% off discount. And they offer parts of those benefits. And it's all detailed exactly what's included at each tier on the Patreon website. If you want to know more about the Patreon, check out my Why You Should Join the Patreon videos on the channel. And I'm going to be doing another one before the season starts, kind of talking about what the in-season Patreon looks like. Focusing a lot on what Start Sit is going to look like, because it's a big part of my in-season Patreon content. Now, again, patreon.com/fantasy advice. The link is right there in the top right corner. TylerYT50, you get 50% off your first month. And I'm looking forward to seeing more signups. I've never had this many signups in such a short period of time. So I'm just hoping to continue that momentum as we head closer to the season and then into the season to have an exciting and great 2025 season in the Patreon. But once again, I want to thank everyone who signed up. Thank everyone who's considering signing up. And I'll move into my next topic. So next up, I'd suggest not overreacting to the Broncos running back usage. We know Sean Payton is fickle with that. We've already seen Dobbins and Harvey rotate throughout the preseason. Both have been the starter before. In preseason week 3, RJ Harvey started while J.K. Dobbins and Jaleel McLaughlin sat out. To me, it's very clear. Harvey and Dobbins are competing for the starting role. McLaughlin is the RB3. He may mix in, he may not. What's not clear is A, how much McLaughlin will mix in, and B, which of Harvey or Dobbins is the starter. How much is that going to rotate? How much is that going to change on a week-by-week basis? What is that going to look like? And also, exactly how the passing game work will be distributed. That's also not clear to me. So for me, this is a moment where I'd consider selling both players before week 1. I talked about this a little bit with the Jaguars backfield, but I'm going to say it again here. I think this is another backfield or a situation where people see what they want to see. Those who favor Harvey have twisted every indicator to back up their prior take of loving Harvey. Everything. J.K. Dobbins signs, irrelevant, doesn't matter. J.K. Dobbins is playing with the starters at times. Wow, that's totally irrelevant. R.J. Harvey will be great no matter what. Oh, no, R.J. Harvey is splitting time and rotating with J.K. Dobbins. Oh, that makes no difference, R.J. Harvey. This is what these crazy people are saying. Then there's also people who, like J.K. Dobbins, are like, he's a veteran. Doesn't matter that R.J. Harvey did see some time as the starter. J.K. Dobbins is definitely the starter. No matter what, I'm not going to change my mind. These people, these delusional people, are what you find on Twitter. The reality is, they don't like this. Reality is that Sean Payton rotates the running backs consistently. He's used 2 or 3 running backs at times. The reality is not so exciting. It's not an exciting take, right? Dobbins was fine. Not great last year. He was fine. He wore down over the back half. He was fine. He wasn't bad. He was fine. RJ Harvey was not the best prospect. He was overdrafted. Draft him in the late 3rd, fair enough. 2nd round pick, not for me. I guess you could say I'm a double bear on this backfield. I'm not a big fan of either player. However, there is probably someone in your league who either thinks or listens to someone who's saying these crazy things. And there's a bull for these players in your league. There's 12 people in your league. Probably one of them likes this guy. Both running backs. If you have them, I'd try to get out. Obviously, they have differing prices, but I do think this is the type of situation you want to get out of. I think it's more likely to double burn you than be successful, if that makes sense. Now, last piece of news, and this literally came across as I was in the process of doing the video, so I have had no time to think about this. Jakobi Meyers requested a trade. And I was actually going to talk about the Raiders situation, wide receivers, for this last segment, but obviously the nature of that segment has now changed. So let's talk about it. So in the preseason, Jakobi Meyers was the clear wide receiver 1, while Thornton and Trey Tucker, those were 2 and 3. Bech was buried, but Meyers was the clear wide receiver 1. Brock Bowers is the number 1 weapon on the team, but Meyers was the wide receiver 1 and 2nd receiving weapon. Now, Meyers is in the final year of a 3-year, $33 million contract. Obviously, what's going on is that Meyers wants an extension. The Raiders have said no, and now he's requesting a trade because he's not getting that extension that he would like. That's what's happening here. There's no other way about it. It's not like he doesn't like being on the Raiders. This is about money. He's in the final year of his deal. He's almost 29. This is his opportunity to cash in. So I can't blame him for making a move now, but that's what's happening. Is he going to be traded? Most of the time, the answer is no. Is someone really giving up a day 2 pick and a contract extension for Jakobi Meyers? I don't think so. So I don't see the trade happening, but we have to say it is a possibility that it could happen. Now, with that said, what is left behind? Because I was going to analyze this anyway. What would be left behind? Thornton played all 10 snaps with the starters in preseason week 3 and caught a touchdown. In contrast, Bech didn't enter the game until backups came in. Thornton is ahead of Bech. That is clear. In fact, Bech has not played a single snap with the first team in the entire preseason. 0. So he hasn't been out there at all. Now, the Raiders' exact offense is not clear, especially relating to 11 and 12 personnel. I talked about Brock Bowers in a recent buy video. I am not buying any of this that Brock Bowers is going to miss a significant number of snaps. Brock Bowers, outside of maybe Ashton Jeanty, is their best offensive weapon by far. He will be out there 80% of snaps or more. And if that means that Michael Mayer is also going to play significantly, there will be some 12 personnel. I don't know who is the wide receiver 2 behind Jakobi Meyers. It's either Trey Tucker or Dante Thornton. It's not Jack Bech. I don't know what would happen if Jakobi Meyers were moved. What would happen in that case? I'm pretty sure that Dante Thornton and Trey Tucker would be the wide receivers in 12 personnel and that Jack Bech would come in 11 personnel. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not 100% sure. Now, what do? I just got this news. So for me, I'm probably holding everyone for now and seeing what develops. I'd maybe consider putting Dante Thornton on the block if you can get a really good value. Maybe Jack Bech if you can get the value he had before. I'd maybe consider it, but they're not must sells. But I'd have to see more about how this situation develops. I just heard about this 5 minutes ago. So for now, I would say hold. But if Myers looks like he's more likely to be moved, then I'd consider selling those players because they'd be getting a value bump without actually having done anything on the field. And I usually like to capitalize on situations like that. All right, I'll do some Patreon questions and then I'll wrap up the show. After a few weeks go by in the season, I expect there to be some players who face very negative environments. Will be nice buy lows. Luther Burden, we just talked about one. Will we do a video on some point of this? Yes, I do in season. My content is very similar. I have my 5 takeaways video on Monday, covers all the takeaways from the week. Then Wednesday and Friday are a combination of buys, sells, and stashes. So yes, I will do some buy lows, maybe some buy highs, depending. But yes, I cover that. Of course, I cover everything on the Patreon. I'll cover all players. I do a rankings update on there where I cover everyone who moved throughout a week. And then I give some recommendations for buying and selling on the Patreon as well. But yes, I do buy videos in season. Absolutely. With preseason wrapping up, which player is most notable who's held out of preseason games? Who's the most notable player to be in the lineup with the ones? Well, notable player to be in the lineup with the ones, I think we just talked about it. I think it's Dante Thornton. I think that was one of the most notable things. In terms of who was held out, there were so many players who just didn't play in the preseason at all. I'm not sure there was anyone who was like particularly relevant in that case more than others. But yeah, I think it's more the players who played with the ones that we weren't expecting to. Dante Thornton being top of that list for me, and who we just talked about. What is your gut telling you about CMC's health? My gut is telling me that CMC is good to go week 1, but the bilateral Achilles tendonitis presents a risk, and that risk is not going away. That risk is permanent, and at any time that can come up and flare up again. That's what my gut's telling me. At the end of the day, I'm not a doctor. I haven't examined him. I don't know Christian McCaffrey. It could be wrong, but that's where my gut is on Christian McCaffrey. Now, last question. Similar to a question previously. Who's a player you logically should be high on but can't get there? So I'm not sure if I logically should be high on this player, but one player that I just cannot, there's really 2. One that I just cannot get there is George Pickens. I just have a bad feeling. I didn't like anything about George Pickens' kind of attitude. I didn't like that the Steelers dumped him. Something's telling me not to be in on George Pickens. And then another one, Courtland Sutton. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't buy that magically at 29, Courtland Sutton became this great receiver when he had been middling to meh for 6 years previously. I'm not buying it at all. So I don't know if that's like the best answer to this question, but I think George Pickens is like the poster child for this question for someone I just cannot get there on. Now, if you like this video, make sure to support the channel by subscribing. And don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, it's available on the Patreon. Dynasty and other fantasy football content year-round. 50% discount available at all tiers using code TylerYT50. You can sign up in the link, top right corner, patreon.com/fantasy advice. A lot of people have signed up, so I'm looking forward to some new signups. Every sign-up helps support my independent content. But once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.